here from NoJokeNHL, here with our first series preview. We're going to start in the Western Conference, and we're going to work our way with the 1-8, and then the 2-7, then the 3-6, and then the 4-5. And I'm going to do these individually because it's too much information to try to put in one video. Nobody wants to sit through 20 minutes of this, so I'll try to keep them short and hard hitting. The things that I look for when I look to handicap the playoff series, I kind of look at each team's body of work. I go back, of course in this season it was a relatively short season. Generally I go back about 40 games. So I kept it similar to what I did and kind of threw out the first 8 games, which got rid of the rust and the players changing time zones and things like that. And so I think from that 8th game on, we probably got a good indicator of how these teams are playing. And I like to see how teams came down the stretch, their last 10, their last 20, their last 15, things like that, to set up and see just, who the hot teams are, who the teams seem to be floundering a little bit, and so forth. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Chicago, Minnesota. Of course, Chicago, the President Trophy winner, #1 seed in the tournament. And they're facing the 8th seed Minnesota, who barely qualified in the last week. Minnesota in their last 5 games, 2 wins, but 3 losses, and they had to go to the very final day of the regular season at Colorado, and they pulled off the victory to seal their deal in the playoffs. And so let's look at the body of work for both of these. Minnesota 7-6-2 versus the Central Division this year. Chicago 10-3-2 versus the Northwest. And frankly, Chicago pretty much dominated the Western Conference. Every one of these playoff teams, Chicago has played them and beat them handily in each one. I think with the exception maybe Vancouver, to look at it a little closer. But I mean, they've trounced the Blues, they've trounced the Sharks, the Kings, the Ducks. They've beaten all these teams soundly. And to be honest with you, I really don't see the chalk faltering here in the West. I know a lot of people are taking shots at them, with the Red Wings and Sharks and things like that for the Stanley Cup. But I just cannot see a team getting past them in a series. This team is really toughened up. I mean, Patrick Kane just having an incredible season. One of the lightest guys in the NHL, probably like 180, 185. And I mean, he's so strong on the puck. People come up trying to knock him away, and he just literally skates and just holds on to it. This Hawks team is deep. They have the top goaltending going on, and I just really don't see them faltering. The Hawks coming down their last 40. Basically, 38% of their games were -1.5 covers. That was actually more than 50% of their wins, and actually 75% of all their wins in regulation were puck line cover. So, if you like the Hawks in regulation, it's probably worth it to sprinkle a little on the -1.5. Now that being said, of course my rule for -1.5 is pretty simple. I don't take anything less than +180. It's just really not worth the proposition for only getting 140, 150, and so forth on trying to get -1.5. Maybe I'd make them a leg of a parlay or something like that. But when the price is that high, pretty much I just lay off the puck line. Of course, I'm not going to get in too far in this business laying more than 2-1 on a team, even if I really think they're going to convincingly win. Looking at each of these teams at home and on the road, Blackhawks were pretty much identical on the home and road. They were 18-6 at home, 18-5 on the road. Minnie was 11-12 on the road and 14-10 at home. So, and these stats that I'm looking at are excluding the final day of the regular season, as the report I had was a little bit old. So Chicago has the 19th ranked power play overall. On the penalty kill, however, they're 4th ranked, 2nd on the road penalty kill. So they're pretty tough at killing off the man advantage on the road. Minnesota 16th on the power play, but they're actually 3rd on the road on the power play, and then 15th on the penalty kill. Minnesota's given up no shorthanded goals this year. Hawks have given up 5, believe it or not, and the Hawks have also scored 5 shorties to Minnesota's 1. So pretty even stats there. The goalie should really shine in this series. Backstrom 3rd in the league in wins with 23 this year. He's been their bread and butter go-to goaltender. Sort of a solid GAA, 2.5, 2.6, but clearly the goaltending edge has to go to the Blackhawks again with the tandem of Corey Crawford and Ray Emery. I know a lot of people have been trashing them all year long, but all these guys have done is just win, and both have GAAs of under 2, 1.94. So I mean, say what you will. Like I said, this Hawks team is deep, talented, and they have the top 2 goaltenders in the league. Hawks first in goals against average. And they're also very disciplined. They aren't penalized very often. They're the number 2 team in least amount of penalty minutes. Minnesota ranked 18th with 2.4 more penalty minutes per game. So, looking at those power play numbers, we'll see how things play out. But to be honest with you, the Hawks had a minus 420 for the series, plus 335. Maybe I might look at a play on an exact game series here, but more than likely I'm just going to lay off. The Hawks really are too prohibitive of a favorite even to play in a future. So maybe look at a rollover parlay, but at minus 420 in the first round, and if they handle business here, I really can't see how it's going to get much better. Going against these other teams. I mean, I guess they're some price going to come back. If it's they're playing Vancouver or St. Louis, who was on everybody's radar to go deep in the West as well. So that wraps up the first series, Chicago, Minnesota, and I'll be back shortly with the 2-7.